America, Joe Biden's campaign is lying to you once again, and they're gaslighting. Now they're trying to say that I said black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about our good brother, the Republican House rep from Florida, Byron Donalds, being misrepresented by the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who, of course, is a Democrat. Now, we're going to get into the official quote later, but a brief summary is that Byron Donalds said the black family was more cohesive, more together, and more conservative during the period of Jim Crow in the US of A. And if you don't know what that is, basically, this was a period of time prior to 1960, after slavery, where there were certain laws in the books to enforce segregation by race. Okay, if you're a black person, you got to use that water fountain or have that part of the bus or that part of the railroad car, live in that part of town. That was Jim Crow, right? Now, Hakeem Jeffries took what he said and twisted it to make it seem like Byron Donalds said that we were better off during Jim Crow. Now, if you want to interpret it that way, that's fine. If that's his feelings about what Byron Donalds said, then that's fine. But don't say that he said that and then try to debunk it. I'm not a rocket scientist, but that is definition of a straw man argument. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. Now, there's a lot we got to get into. We got to get into Hakeem Jeffries' comments. We got to get into Byron Donalds' response. Then we're going to get into the official quote and some actual facts, figures, numbers to back up what Byron Donalds said as 100% fact. And I will link to everything, of course, in the box. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that black folks were better off during Jim Crow.
He did not say that. That's your interpretation. He did not say that. We're going to get into what Byron Donalds said in a written quote and what he said as a response. And neither one did he say what you're saying. That's your opinion, but I digress.
That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off.
I'm going to really address all of what he's saying right here and really put it into context with actual facts and figures. Y'all just hang tight.
When children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Okay, now we're quoting rap lyrics from Ice Cube in the 90s. Okay, fantastic. There we go. Now let's hear from Byron Donalds. Let's hear the response to what Hakeem Jeffries just said.
America, Joe Biden's campaign is lying to you once again, and they're gaslighting. Now they're trying to say that I said black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying. But why would you be surprised? Because they always lie. This is the same Joe Biden that said, if you don't vote for him, then you ain't black. The man is a liar. Sorry, just call it what it is. What I said is that you had more black families under Jim Crow. And it was the Democrat policies under HEW, under the welfare state, that did help to destroy the black family. That's what I said. And I also said you're seeing a reinvigoration of black families today in America. And that is a good thing. So don't listen to the lies from the Biden administration. I know what I said, and I'll say it straight to camera. They got to run to the Philadelphia Inquirer to move their lies. Joe Biden does not care about black people. He never has. He cares about power. First, second, and third. They can go somewhere with all that. See ya.
Right on. Shout out to my man. Hey, Byron Donalds, shout out to you, man. You're fantastic. I want to see you in the Oval Office sometime soon. All right. Now, let's get to the actual quote here, okay? Now, we're going to get to what Jamel Hill said in a minute, but here's the quote. And this is somebody that pulled it, and her or his or whatever comment is, wow, Trump Veep contender and close ally Byron Donalds says life was better for black Americans under Jim Crow. And then here's a quote. At another point, Donald said he is starting to see the reinvigoration of the black family, which he just said, which he described as younger people forming nuclear family units and helping to breathe the revival of a black middle class in America. He went on to say that those family values had previously been eroded by Democratic policies that black voters embraced after becoming loyal to the party due to civil rights movement. And here's the main thing. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. Okay. And then he said, and then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, you go down that road. And now here we are. He added, referring to the former U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Right. That is a fact. Now, Jamel Hill says, aside from the lynchings, racial terror, degradation, humiliation, inhumane treatment, continued forced servitude, it was an incredible time for black folks. Okay. Now, he didn't say any of that. He didn't say that it was fantastic, that those things weren't going on. He said a fact. Okay. What he said right here was a fact during Jim Crow, because let me just come back. I have a lot to say, a whole lot to say, not only about what Jamel Hill said, but also what Byron Donald said and Hakeem Jeffries. And what Byron Donald said was right on point. During Jim Crow, the black family was more together. There was a report called the Moynihan Report, but it was published by a white Democrat, Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Look it up, 1961 or so. It's called the Moynihan Report. And in this report in 1960, it stated that 80% of black kids, black children were born to two married parents. Again, in 1960, according to a report published by a white male Democrat, a liberal, he said that 80% of black children were born to two married parents. At the same time, 95% of white children were born to two married parents. So you only had a 5% single parent household rate in the white community, 20% in the black community. And at that time, Moynihan said that the 20% single parent household rate among blacks was at emergency levels. It was a crisis to have 20% single parent households in the black community. Now, where are we at today? 2024, we're talking about 75% single parent household rate in the black community. We went from 20%, which was an emergency, to now 75%. And a little footnote is that 25% of white children are now being born to unmarried parents, which was more than the 20%, which was an emergency in 1960. So we have a problem, not only among blacks, but among everybody. So what Byron Donald said was correct. He didn't say that it was better because of Jim Crow. It was just better. That's a fact. Okay, the numbers prove it. We had more married households. We had more parents, grandparents, nuclear family. That's a fact. That is a fact. And then they're talking about lynching and the Klan and all kind of stuff. Let me just put it in perspective here. Just a little perspective. Now, I've done the research, and I challenge anybody to disprove what I'm saying. And if you have anything that disproves me, let me know in the comments. Now, according to Tuskegee University, a black college, between 1865 and 1965, there were 3,500 black folks lynched in America. 100 years. Now, this does not say that the Klan did it, that it was a white person that did it, that it was a black person that did it. All it says is that there were 3,500 lynchings. Some could have been innocent, some could have been guilty. Who knows? I don't know. Now, I'm no mathematician, I'm no genius, so y'all please fact check me on this. But 3,500 people lynched, black folks lynched, in 100 years, that's 35 people per year. 35. That's it. Now, going back to the 3,500 number, we eclipse that in the black community every 6 months in this country from black on black violence. Every 6 months we eclipse that. So we're talking about 100 years compared to 6 months. But for some reason, the 100-year number gets all the attention. I don't understand. How many people who were innocent got deleted there? A lot of kids getting shot through their house. I covered the story about the little girl who was doing homework in the bed and got shot by a stray bullet. That's not uncommon. I remember being a little kid and being told to get on the ground when you start to hear gunshots. Get on the ground when you hear gunshots, because if they start shooting, bullets might go through and hit you. Get on the ground, get to the center of the house, get in the tub, stuff like that. I got cousins from Little Rock, Arkansas. Y'all know about Little Rock, banging in Little Rock. They grew up during that time. And they told me that when they were growing up in the 80s and 90s specifically, they had their TV sets on the ground, like no TV stand, and they would watch TV like laying down on the floor, because there were so many drive-by shootings. They would just automatically be in the prone position to avoid getting shot. And these are little kids watching cartoons in the morning, 7, 8 years old. Was that going on during Jim Crow? I'm not saying it was better because that wasn't going on, but the reality was that it was not going on. The reality was that we did have more two-parent households. We more conservative when we had more voter parity, but then civil rights came along and we just hitched our wagons to the Democratic Party. And can you really say it's better for us? As I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Andre Hatchett. I was on his podcast recently, and he asked me a question. He said, what's the worst time for Black Americans in this country? I said slavery, of course, right away. He was like, well, okay, beyond slavery. I don't like the 80s, crack. I mean, that changed everything, man. That just made our communities just terrible. I mean, we had problems before that, obviously, but that just really did it. The nuclear family gone. The addiction just ran rampant. The violence went through the roof. Violence is bad right now in the community, but back in the 80s, 90s, oh my gosh, you're talking about 1,000 people getting deleted, 1,000 Black folks getting deleted every year in a place like New York, Chicago, etc. It's bad now in Chicago. It's bad now in New York, but in the 80s, 90s, the crack wars, it was out of control. I remember those times very well. I was a little boy, but I remember those times very well. It was Zombieland in the Black community, but it's I guess it's fine, right? I guess it's fine when a lot of our uncles and fathers and whatnot got deleted during this time by the crack war because it wasn't the white man that did it. Okay, cool. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Byron Donalds told the truth? Did he tell a lie? How about Hakeem Jeffries, Jamel Hill, and all the rest of them? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. He did not lie at all. He didn't lie at all. We could talk about the negative things that were happening during Jim Crow, segregation and lynching and whatnot. Okay, now if you want to talk about that, talk about what's happening right now in this country with the Black community, with all the senseless killing and the don't get me started on the abortion industry. Don't get me started on all the things that are happening right now. Just because there were bad things happening back then does not mean that it was all bleak and we had no future. That's just simply false. It's simply false. Things were better previously, although those things were going on. In spite of those things, the community was better. The family was better. It does not mean that it was because of Jim Crow. It's just a fact. It is what it is. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.